Most of my favorite music is older than me.
Yeah, same to me.
I love that. I love that. I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah,
That's
you don't
beautiful.
find the type of music. I mean, I get that there's still some good going on these days, but it's just so different than the classics. The classics you can't beat.
Totally. Oh, look at this. Oh, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is like just one of my all-time favorite people in the world. And I mean, there's a bunch of you in here right now, but seriously, I have a lot of favorite people in the world, but no, I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. Um, Davcat, like, whoa, how'd she get in the pip? Let's get this more, egalitarian here. Let's go. There you are. What's going on?
Not much. Whoa.
Oh,
You
whoa. Yeah. Are
He
you
learned
like
how to do. He
psychedelic?
learned how to do this today.
I there's a
Yeah.
delay in
Oh, there is there?
yeah.
Okay, hang on a second. So refresh your screen, refresh your browser. Ooh, Ellie, you're making a lot of noise, my dear. I just muted you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly.
Oh my God, you were like 10,000 miles away. Can you believe that we can do this live? Isn't it crazy?
It's very exciting.
It is. It is. And like, seriously, wait, were we on the phone yesterday, right?
Yes.
It wasn't this morning. It was yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah. So like, I gotta tell you that like Kim Carolina, who is like, I think Kim Carolina is like the Duchess of Periscope. She just knows everybody. And DevCat and I, we go way back, in internet terms, over a year, almost two probably. And Kim's like, when are you going to interview DavCat? And I'm like, well, I did that. I've done that. I would love to do that again. And she said, you and DavCat should do a show together. And I'm like, oh, you and DavCat should do a show together. So on Thursday nights it'll be Thursday night for me and Thursday morning for you, I think, right?
Correct.
Yes. Actually, our times don't line up too badly where you are in the world because there's places in the world where like I got to be up at 5 in the morning or they have to be up at 5 in the morning. But you and I, this one works out pretty well. I wonder on the globe, are we literally like across from each? Like how is that? Right?
I need a globe. I might ask my husband.
I mean,
honey, could you pass me the globe? If no rush.
Yeah, no rush. Thank you, honey. I appreciate that. Yeah, I want to see how we're lined up that way. Here, who are these two folks? Cosmic Rose. Who are you talking to? There's, you know me. So,
she knows me too.
Yeah. Oh, she's being funny. Okay,
She's
gotcha.
funny.
So, yeah, gotcha. So, yeah, who is this awesome person here? I know that it's a little difficult for all of us as human beings to just have somebody go totally fanboy over you, but I'm sorry, but I'm gonna, because I have told so many people today how awesome this is. And I'm going to tell it to you. If I haven't told you before, I should have. Professional, amateur, professors, I don't care who it is. I have never met anybody with as an astute, as political mind as this woman right here. You are amazing. You blow me away. I feel like a noob when I'm talking with you. Your political mind is it's fantastic, DavCat. It's awesome.
Perhaps I have the benefit of being a relative blank slate to American politics and then tapping into it through Twitter, which does give you access to a lot of the minds of American politics, and you can very easily tap into so many permutations of thought that it can help you synthesize if you don't already have a pre-existing set of assumptions. So that sounds like I'm criticizing you, but I'm not. I'm just saying that my noobishness is so pronounced. It gives me this curious zeal to find out more and be able to dig into what's happening, as well as that whole anti-fascist bent that I have, which makes me Antifa. Lol, we found one. We found an Antifa. Quick, tell Tucker Carlson. Oh, no, wait. Tucker Carlson doesn't believe that QAnon exists because they couldn't find the QAnon website. Therefore, it's another Democratic hoax, and there's no such thing, which will probably come as a big surprise to about 50% of Tucker Carlson's audience.
I'm sorry, but like, it's all just Twitter. You know, she just looks at Twitter and she, you know, like, did you just hear her for like 2 minutes? Just like, I don't even know what some of those words are. I love you so much, Dev Cat. That you are so freaking amazing. Oh my, says Mark Goldman at Dev Cat. Rev has been raving about you for days. Such a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Mark Goldman. Let me formally introduce you to well, it looks like in the things here. Hold on a second. Somebody actually, wait, I got to scroll back. Ah, yes. Look at what Bob Kramer said. What did Bob Kramer say? He said Davina, right? So, can I call you Davina instead of DavCat? What do you want me to call you?
You can call me Davina. Let's take this next level. I usually stick to the relative anonymity of DavCat, but
right.
There's a new administration in town, baby. Let's.
All right. Well, this is awesome then, Mark and everybody. Pablo, let me introduce to you, everybody in the room, to Davina. And Davina, just welcome to Happs. This is like a soft launch on a Thursday. And literally just 36 hours ago, Davina and I were chatting about this. And yeah, this is awesome. So I'm getting
the
take
real
a breath.
Celebrity welcome treatment, which is quite because
you
nice.
are you are a celebrity. I think when I okay, so if you are not following DavCat43 on Twitter, you need to be. If you're not subscribing to her right now, why not? Trust me. Do you trust me? Follow Davina. And she's DavCat on here, right? DAVKAT?
Correct.
Right. So follow DavCat. Actually, say hello down in the comments, DavCat and Davina. And but you got to uncheck the little magenta, uncheck the lock down there, and say hello, and then that way they can find you. There she is, Kim Carolina, who brought us back together. So I did an interview with Davina. It's been a couple of years, a year and a half probably. Teamwork Dreamwork Award, and it was just fantastic. And I think at that time, Davina, I don't even know if you were on Periscope, but like both of us were fairly new. You know what I mean? Like we hadn't been doing this for too awfully long, I don't think. And am I right? I think so.
Well, I had a video that went a little bit viral in January of 2018. And I didn't progress to Periscope straight away after that because it took me a while of just going, oh, maybe I should try and follow up on that until somebody pointed out to me that Periscope existed. And then I could talk as much as I wanted. So I had been blathering on the internet for a little while, but I think probably it was more than a year and a half that you and I interviewed ago because it was pre-COVID and it was fairly substantially pre-COVID. But at the same time, my perception of time is off.
Yeah.
The 4 years.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Me too. I mean, I just want to, just forget that thing. We can't forget it though.
We've touched base before. Kim reunited us and I'm excited.
Of course you are, Cosmic Rose. You can post Dav's Patreon account. Soon enough, you know, Davina will have, you know, she'll get followers quick. and she'll be able to get sponsored on here. You likely don't remember me, Rev, but I was a guest on your show months ago. I sure do remember you, Sheldon Goldberg. How are you doing, buddy? How's it down there in Florida? How am I going to forget
Hey,
you?
Sheldon.
You were awesome. You guys know each other apparently. Awesome.
Yep,
Well,
we're tight.
come on. Come on and up and say hi, brother Sheldon. Anybody else want to come up? Just let me know, because this is a party right now. So on Thursdays, maybe we'll have to have like a party part of the program. And there's the other thing too. I would love to let people kind of this. I'm going to sound really insider here. It's not true, but we're going to let everybody see how the sausage is made, because we need to come up with a name for our Thursday night thing. We need to kind of hash out a bit of a format, right? So, obviously we're very closely politically aligned, so we're not going to do a point counterpoint, but yeah, I think we should like start to flush this out, because honestly, Davina or myself could just sit here and talk for an hour. So we're going to have to kind of learn to interplay with each other and everything. It's going to be fun putting this together, but I think it'll be pretty easy.
We could have segments. We could have segments.
Yeah.
So viewer participation in segment devising is probably welcomed. And could we have segments with tiny musical introductions? I've always wanted to do that.
Of course we can. We can do whatever you want, Davina. That'll be fun. Do you have some ideas for the music?
No, but
well,
I was
what we
hearing
can do.
That Rush Limbaugh enhanced his popularity by using popular music in his show, and that he co-opted music from people who were very politically opposite to him. And
Right.
I always get very activated by unjust things happening and want to counteract them. If people used popular music for ill, can we use
You can use it for gain.
copyright segmentable? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So no, that's really good. I like that, because I was just thinking, like, I don't want to have to play like Republican musicians, because Rush had to play, liberal stuff. I mean, that's the good music, right? I mean, give me a conservative musician. What it would be like, that guy in Michigan. What's that wacko hunter guy? Ted Nugent.
Nugent.
Yeah, like we're not, I'm not playing Ted Nugent. Screw that. We'll get some rights free. We'll get some rights free music. We'll put some stuff in there. That is fantastic. That'll be fun. You can do that. We can do that. Eleanor can do this on this platform, or Pablo can show me how to do it. And oh, by the way, we have, I think we can do green screen through one of the apps. So we can do a chroma key so you can get your background back.
Yay.
That is about as much as I know, but I am sure, poor Pablo is like probably one of the busiest men in America, but I'm guessing we could get him to take a little time maybe, or recommend somebody that could walk us through it and get the best green screen. He might even have a tutorial for it. So, I may be asking too much of him, but we'll get it figured out. We'll get your green screen going. I just want to let everybody know, and I appreciate everybody for making some space here for Dav to come in, and because I know we were all talking a bit, but this is just a wonderful thing, because I literally Kim Chi said, "When is Dav coming on?" And I'm like, "Well, I don't know. Let me get a hold of her," and because I wasn't sure if we were going to do this tonight, and so what we can do is we can do these segments, and I think we're going to do you want to do like, I mean, I think we should do 2 hours. Can you do 2 hours on a Thursday night? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then we're gonna, so Dav is a real singer. She's awesome. Wow. Ooh. All right. We'll do some duets. I was just singing King of the Road by Roger Miller, and it's just a totally perfect song for me. And Ellie, who's sitting over there awfully quiet, looks like she left. She's back in the bleachers. Thank you, Ellie, for coming by. And you could certainly come up here and say hi to DavCat. In fact, you probably should get her autograph. Mark Goldman gives us a brilliant award. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this every other week. So it'll be on, 1 week will be on my channel, the other week will be on Davina's channel, and we'll just do that back and forth until maybe, because I was seeding this with Pablo today, until we maybe get a system where the host can wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Mark Goldberg, who's out there. So the host can have a guest come on, or maybe an official guest through the scheduling system would get 50% of the tips that come in. And then if 3 guests were on the official system, they could each get 1/3 of the take, because I really don't want to get an award. And the brilliant award is beautiful, Mark. I appreciate it. But, for now, when Davina and I are on, we're going to split everything that comes in, I think would be the way to do it. But it would be nice to be able to break that down a little bit. But I wouldn't want me to come on as a guest to somebody's program and everybody give me an award, because that wouldn't feel fair to me, to the host, right? What if I came in and I got 50 of those things because I'm popular or something, and the guest didn't get any? I mean the host didn't get any. I'd feel bad about that. So I think there's a lot of possibilities out there. I don't know if you guys are working on that kind of stuff, but I'm sure you are, because anything I usually say to you guys, you're like, oh yeah, we got that on the roadmap. Or actually, we heard today, it was pretty funny. I think Peter said that's on the, if Badges were here, she would know. I think he said it was on the back burner or something. That was so far into the future that, we've thought of it, but we can't quite get to it yet. And they're working on building out the network, and they're doing a fantastic job. And we're excited. And I'm talking way too much because Davina is much better at it than I am. So we're going to do segments for 2 hours. We're going to have some music. How are we breaking down those segments? What are those going to look like?
Oh, I only have one that I'm shamelessly appropriating from a podcast called The New Abnormal, in which the 2 hosts did a segment called F That Guy. And it could be a guy or a gal, but they would pick whoever was behaving most villainously at present in politics. And that podcast is a little bit, they're auditioning new hosts at the moment, because Rick Wilson is a member of the Lincoln Project, and obviously they're having some controversy about exactly when and to what extent they knew of John Weaver's predilection for grooming 14-year-old boys, and then when they're 18, trying to become involved with them. So that's a big controversy for the Lincoln Project members, and I think they're getting it investigated, and Rick Wilson seems to have pulled out of that podcast. So I'm stealing his segment in his absence with the idea of renaming it and going, that's fair play, isn't it? Instead of F That Guy,
I believe so.
We could have something else equivalent.
Yeah, well, you guys out there in the bleachers, in the cheap seats, as Helen calls them. I like I don't know. We need a name for that. We need a Happs name for the folks in the chat. I know you could say in the chat, but you know what? Give your suggestions too. If anybody wants to come up and say hi, now is a good time to do it. Quite a comment lull tonight. Yeah, well, we're all good. So we got to come up with a name for that segment. So what else are we thinking about?
News summary. So whatever our impression is of top stories,
right.
and then like an issue breakdown where we take something historical or something. 2 sections: a historical section and a comparative politics section, where we look at something that's happening in America and just how something similar would work in another legislature around the world. So just to spice it up a bit for viewers who might feel patronized if we just purely say, this is how it works, passing a bill through the Senate, even if there's a 50-50 split in the Senate and the Parliamentarian rules that something doesn't qualify to be included in the omnibus bill, like the $15 minimum wage.
So wait a minute. Right. This is a good point for people, because first of all, you may not have heard of this. And so Joe Biden himself wants to put in a $15 an hour minimum wage. Now, I'll be honest, they've been trying to put in the $15 minimum wage for so long, it's not enough, but at least it's a start. And in a market like Chicago, it should be $35 an hour minimum wage, not living wage, minimum wage. And you know what somebody's going to say to me? My God, a freaking Starbucks is going to be $24. And you know what? The person making it will be able to afford it. And everybody will be lifted. And yeah, things will change, but they'll be able to afford the damn thing. So, so how in hell, Dev, did the Parliamentarian is who?
Good question. I'm going to presume they're a Republican.
I would think so. And how did that happen? Because of the 50-50 split?
Because normally because the filibuster still exists, you have to have a filibuster proof majority to pass a bill through the Senate. You can't just have a simple majority. So the Dems have a simple majority at present. Look at that pixelated screen. I'm going to go out and buy a new computer with all of my Patreon funds. I'll draw it all out and spend it. But because the Democrats are using something called reconciliation, you get to use that process to bypass the filibuster for a select few things. So they're using reconciliation to try and get this omnibus COVID bill passed so that everybody can get their $1,400 checks. Yes, and Costco is putting pressure almost on Republicans by raising their minimum wage to $16 an hour to show you that, look, businesses can embrace a decent minimum wage. So that kind of undermines the Republican position. But in the meantime, the procedural thing we're talking about today is that this big COVID omnibus bill, and the Democrats had tacked on the $15 minimum wage to be just part of the economic stimulus of that bill. And the Parliamentarian ruled that, no, that's too tangential to the COVID relief bill. You can't include it. So it can't be voted on in the Senate.
So there are some things. Yeah. So there are some things that the Parliamentarian can't stop, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Parliamentarian's not normally involved because reconciliation normally isn't used. That's just something that was being used to bypass the filibuster to get this very critical package through the Senate so that Joe Biden can sign it, that people can get their relief checks, to give that big shot in the arm that the flailing American economy needs because it suffered so long from this prolonged pandemic, prolonged because Republicans and Trump made this arbitrary distinction between choose the economy or choose public health. So, let's not try and get the pandemic under control. Let's instead advocate that we are the arbiters of normality, and we say everybody needs to just resume life as if there's nothing happening, which meant that there was insufficient public compliance with the necessary public health measures of mask wearing and social distancing. So Trump sabotaged the economy by sabotaging public health, because public health is actually a subset of the economy. People just organically don't go out and spend money if they're concerned that people around them are losing their lives or falling prey to chronic illness.
Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just like
I was like, are you looking up who the Parliamentarian is?
I was, but I didn't. I got a text because somebody said that they can't see you, but I checked the mobile and it is. So the person that sent me that text, just refresh maybe your screen because she's coming out across. But the reason that I was smiling was because I just if I have a question about politics, I'm just going to call you on WhatsApp at any time and just have you answer it. And I'm going to get the most, I could just ask you a question and you're going to know it. And it's the coolest thing. I'm already having fun already. So the Parliamentarian, so we're going to get this. It's the reconciliation process. It goes around the filibuster.
The filibuster. Yeah.
And it's usually used for single item things, I think, right? They've never tried to put $2 billion through or $2 trillion through a reconciliation, right?
The Republicans got their big tax scam bill through with reconciliation. And they tacked on a whole bunch of irrelevant bullshit to that. They tacked on opening up the Arctic to drilling for oil. They so they got to tack on bullshit to their tax bill. But Democrats often run up against Republican obstructionism because that's kind of their thing, isn't it? Republicans obstruct pro-social legislation and facilitate tax breaks to their donor class.
So then, sorry, you just like, I'll get used to it, but like, stop being a fanboy. I did it last night with Brian Dunning. You know what I mean? Be professional, even though this is just an amateur program. Be very professional, Revolution. The process will ultimately succeed, right? I mean, they're going to be able to ram it through.
Yeah, they'll ram
really
the COVID bill through. People will get the $1,400 checks. There's a lot of Republican support, even amongst Trump, the hardcore Trump voters. I think there's 60% support for the COVID relief bill. So they want their $1,400 checks, basically, regardless of whether it's their deity golden calf Trump boy or Biden. So that will get through, but the minimum wage will potentially have to go into a separate bill, which means there are some people on the left who are irritated and who say Vice President Kamala Harris, as the official head of the Senate, has the authority to counteract the parliamentarians' ruling and to override it. And Joe Biden doesn't want to do that because that might undermine Republican buy-in to the COVID bill. I don't know, it might enhance Republican complaining that they are behaving like Trump and that they're not respecting Senate procedure.
Parliamentary rules. Right. So one of the things that I think a lot of people probably don't know is the Senate is an archaic piece of crap. I'm sorry if I just offended you and the founding fathers, but there are so many ways to abuse the Senate. It's disgusting. And the other thing is that right now we are being ruled by the minority because the founding fathers, they had they had an interest in making sure that, I get it, with majority rule and minority, but there are 50 states in the union and there are 100 senators. And so North Dakota with about 600,000 people, I have 600,000 people within 3 square miles of me. All right. And this is the entire state of North Dakota. They get 2 senators. Bullshit. They get to share one with South Dakota, in my opinion. And California should have 30. New York should have 24. Illinois should have 18. I'm just making these numbers up. But however you slice it, the system is broken, desperately broken. These guys didn't know we were going to have 330 million people and span the continent. They had some good ideas. I believe in their ideas, but this is a mess. So, sorry for my preaching there, but so I'll let you respond to that, but then we can get back to the reconciliation bill. So
I was trying to Google who the Parliamentarian is, but I hadn't found that yet. I'm so glad I'm wearing lipstick because then when I go all pixelated, it's like, at least there's a colorful blob to focus on.
You think that's your computer?
Yeah, I do. I think my computer is lacking the processing power to cope with Happs.
Oh, the browser. Yeah, the browser uses a lot of resources. So it's a give and take because it's a beautiful system to be able to do all this through the browser because ultimately, they're trying to do it on the mobile. But being in beta, you're right. I have a 10-year-old MacBook and I have to close everything. It just, and right now I just got a message on my internet connection. I have a fast internet connection. I know there's not a problem there. It's my computer. So yes, I need to do that myself. I want to get an iMac here the next couple of months, hopefully. If you guys if you like this program and you want to help me get an iMac, I'm not shy. You want to buy me an iMac, I'm not shy. Hit me up in Twitter and at RevMac Live, and I'll give you my address. But you gotta show me the canceled check. Just kidding. No, seriously, whatever you want to give. Make sure you're giving some money to all of the creators on here. Make sure you're following DavCat. Go into somebody's room. I know it's horrible for, ratings, but we don't give a damn about ratings around here. But I know it's horrible for me to tell you guys to go into another room and jump into another room and give somebody some awards, make their night, surprise them, make them feel good. Go sponsor somebody that you like that probably doesn't have a lot of sponsors. Give them $1 a month, $12 a year. Seriously, most people can afford that. Not everybody can, but go make somebody's night. And yeah, so Parliamentarian, does anybody out there, can they find the Parliamentarian? Because it's got to be a Republican, unless, Davina, it's Joe Manchin. We got to talk about Joe Manchin.
No. It's not one of the senators. I don't think it's one of the senators.
Oh, well then who? But they have to be controlled by the Republicans then.
That's true.
There's right. They've got to have some measure of control. Now, part of the thing that I understand because we didn't get a majority,
the Parliamentarian
a clear majority,
is the official advisor to the United States Senate on the interpretation of the standing rules of the Senate. So it's currently a woman called Elizabeth McDonough, and her term length is at the pleasure of the Senate Majority Leader. I'm just guessing Republican in loyalty, but yeah. Oh, she was appointed by Harry Reid. There you go.
Oh, good Lord. All right, well, we're going to break that down. Dav, put your Patreon in the comment section. Cosmic Rose is having a problem. And you know what? Subscribe to Dav's Patreon, but it won't be very long. It'll be pretty quick. Dav will be a VIP, and then she'll be able to get sponsorships through Happs. And I'll tell Dav up front that Happs is going to take more money out than Patreon will, but Happs takes on the 30% profit that Apple gets on their good work, which Apple deserves. It's their system. So they absorb that. And, I'll tell you how it all works on the back end. But basically they take 30% of what your sponsorships are, but that goes to help keep this network going and to grow it. So, sponsor Dav. Like I say, if you want to give me more than $500 a month, then I'll give you my bank account number, and then I'll donate maybe 15% back. But anyway, so everybody sign up for her Patreon.
Joy found it. The current Parliamentarian is Elizabeth McDonough, who held the office since 2012 and was appointed by Democrat, then Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. So, I guess
how does that work?
I guess she was
that's
also...
that's like the Supreme Court, right? Like they change. What? I don't get that.
Sheldon points out we are sending Dav computer parts piece by piece, first to camera. That's true. His twin brother had a spare web camera that he's literally sending to me.
Oh, awesome. That is awesome. The Together Award from Joy Christine, thank you. Oh, that's so appropriate. That's got to be like a reward that we take a little ownership over. I like that. And here's the thing: the rewards are they're just tips. So this person has a lot of power, and I'm really I'm not clear as to why she wouldn't be. I guess maybe she thinks. Well, wait a minute. Let's go back to the rules of the Senate. So the rules of the Senate have nothing to do with the Constitution, right? I mean, the Constitution doesn't have a lot to say about how the Senate should be run. It just says that there's a president. In fact, Mitch McConnell and Harry Reid have no official position in the Senate as majority leaders, right?
I think that's right. I think there wasn't any constitutional elaboration on the roles. It's procedure that developed over time. and was
Right. And so the
formalized.
president of the Senate is technically the vice president, but they're not the most powerful person. The most powerful person in the Senate, in one sense, is the president pro tem, which is the longest serving Democrat too. So it's crazy. Like the whole system is broken, folks. And yeah, this is
It's
nuts.
disproportionate, and I've often pointed out on my own broadcast that one of those initial motivations for the disproportionate nature of the Senate, that representation is concentrated or spread out across all the states, despite the fact that population is concentrated more in some states than others, that the original motivation of that was to counteract the power of abolitionists in order to bring slave owners to the table, to say, don't worry, you will have some power. We'll have this Senate, which will be the greatest deliberative body on the earth. It'll be very long and ponderous because there'll be all this negotiation that has to happen before anything can change. So before people can legislate away your slavery industries, there'll have to be a lot of talking about it and a lot of negotiation, and you'll get to leverage things and compromise on things. So don't worry, people aren't just going to railroad your profitability. And I think that's a fundamental driver of why the Senate's constructed in the way that it is, because heavily agricultural states initially did have lower populations as well, lower populations of voters. Once they said the 3/5 rule exists, that meant that the bodies of enslaved people were counted. Not everybody, but 3 out of every 5 bodies were counted in population tallies, and those tallies then went towards calculating how many representatives were featured for each state in the House of Representatives. So the Senate didn't even need that 3/5 rule
Right.
to
So they
add,
needed it in the House.
but they needed in the House, again, to balance out the power of the North, of the abolitionist tendencies of the North, to reassure the wealthy, powerful slave owners of the South, join us, let's have a United States, never fear, there's a lot of thumbs on the scale for your wishes.
What's amazing is it's not like that anymore.
It's less like that. It's less like that.
There was I was just
war.
trying to try. Yeah, no, right. Yeah, I mean, they don't have their thumbs on the scales now. They've dumped a concrete building on top of it and smashed it down, and they won't ever let it balance again. Cosmic Rose has said this twice, so I want to touch here. We do need to run through the chat. So the public minimum wage has nothing to do with the federal budget, because federal employees are already getting paid more than that. I'm not 100% sure on what you're trying to say, because the minimum wage is set by the federal government, and it's not reflected at all in what the federal workers are paid, because that's a whole different animal. But do you know what she's saying?
This is a federal budget that's governing what other people can pay their workers, Cosmic. This is not a federal budget concerning how federal employees are paid. This would influence the entire United States. And it's being held up because of all of the infiltration of libertarian ideas that say you have to give corporations a free rein, you have to let small businesses thrive by letting them underpay their workers. Whereas the point you made before Revolution was that actually businesses thrive when there's more customers who aren't living on subsistence wages. When there's customers who earn $15, $20 an hour, they too can afford to buy coffees, business increases, and that's a economic circumstance that plays out around the world. Higher minimum wages are actually involved in driving the economy, because the economy is 70% consumer spending. So America's tendency to have this large class, sort of underclass of underpaid people, it hampers economic growth. You've got lots of things in your corner that promote economic growth, like your embrace of migrants and all of the economic juice that gives your economy and your and entrepreneurship in the US. But the thing that unjuices your economy is that Reagan-initiated commitment to underpaying people.
And that, wow. So do you think because I want to get back to this, because I heard today that somebody, wait, you just said, but what is the path to doing it then is going to have to be a separate bill that will, instead of ramming it through, well, then, so let's touch on the and please take it in whatever direction you want as well. But I want to touch on the filibuster. I want to touch on the filibuster because it's kind of crucial to this, and I want to say that Harry Reid, they undid kind of a portion of the filibuster, right?
To do judges, so you didn't have to get a huge majority anymore to nominate and confirm judges.
The judges. The judges, right. I agree with Rev. I was just giving pushback, I've been told. I agree with Rev. I was just giving pushback, I've been told. So, go ahead.
Talking to me?
Yeah, no, I just can't figure out what Rose is saying. I haven't slept for 3 weeks, so...
Rose is at least tied a knot under it, saying fundamentally she agrees with you. So I think we're good. I think there was a slight misunderstanding about what the omnibus bill was legislating for when it was trying to include the $15 minimum wage. But the point is, at the moment anyway, they can't include it. I'm sure there'll be lots of blame that we'll hear about, lots of people targeting Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris, to blame her for not
Kamala Harris.
Vice President Kamala Harris, love to say that, for not overruling the Parliamentarian, because there was that option. But I think what you were trying to get to was that means the $15 minimum wage will have to be proposed as independent legislation, and it's unlikely to then be able to defeat the filibuster. Republicans will filibuster it, and what it might do then is create motivation for Dems to squash the filibuster, because they can use their simple majority to defeat that. And the question is trying to get on board Manchin from West Virginia and Simina from Arizona to get on board with the desperate need to just totally kill the filibuster, because Republican obstructionism is at a level that you can't get anything done now.
Right. But could we pluck crazy lady? Sorry, crazies, let's just say mixed up lady from Maine. And who else could we maybe poach? The senator in Alaska, right?
Murkowski.
Right. We might be able to poach those two, right? And go around Manchin. That would be possible, maybe.
Collins is still very much a Republican team player, and Murkowski kind of is as well. Like, if it was a pet issue for Murkowski, something that really helped the native Alaskans from her state, she might be, pressure might be brought to bear. But you can defeat this. Yeah, I don't think they're more likely
to do it on that, but we might get them on some other bills. I think it's possible. But so here's the thing. You are the, you're the calm, collected, intelligent. We're going to come up with a way to do this. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call Vito Corleone, and he's going to go over to Mr. Manchin's house, and he's going to go, look, I got to talk to you, Mr. Manchin. Okay. I got a horse head wrapped up in some newspaper here that I've been told to deliver to your address. Okay. And you know what that means,
they're going to say,
right?
Manchin, would you like to be on the Energy Committee? Would you like to be the chair of the Energy Committee? That's more legal and conscionable than the horse's head.
Okay. All right. So, but they could. So, because this is what I've been thinking, like, what do? You go up to Joe and you're like, Joe, what do you want? What do you want? You want to be governor of Virginia? You want to be secretary of secretaries? What do you want, man? You know what I mean? Like, I know it's tough. I know it's tough in West Virginia. I know that you might take a big hit for this, but what do you want for it? What's it going to cost us?
There's some negative pressure being put on Joe at the moment, which is some attention. I think it's mostly localized to Twitter at the moment. Attention being paid to his daughter's role. She was the CEO of a pharmaceutical company called Mylan, and they increased the price on Epipens. You know those pens that save the lives of children? Is that an EpiPen? No, it's a vaping
No.
pen. I thought you were like bringing out your own
marijuana.
EpiPen.
No, that's marijuana. So yeah, for my knee pain.
Excellent. I'm a very pro medical marijuana usage.
Yep. I like it for other things too, but that is why I have it.
I wanted to give some to my mom. She had a lot of anxiety associated with a diagnosis of terminal cancer. And they started talking about using medical marijuana for that after she died. And I was like, oh, I wish I'd campaigned for that. She would have been much more chill. And anyway.
Yeah, well, love to you about your mom too.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Epinephrine. Yep.
Epinephrine, yes. So the EpiPen, and the price increased from $100 to $600 under her tenure as the CEO. And her remuneration as CEO increased over that time from $1.6 million to $19 million. So she personally benefited quite a lot, and parents or anybody who, adults need EpiPens too, but anybody who had to buy an EpiPen suffered a big hit to the bank account. And I just imagine the stress of that as well, because you need multiple EpiPens a year. They expire, and you use them and you have to buy another one. So Neera Tanden,
you don't want to,
Joe Biden. Yeah.
You don't want to have to think about using your EpiPen, right? You want to have enough EpiPens and have enough money, especially for your child, where it's like, okay, we're going to jam it in your leg because we're not quite sure. I don't want a parent to have to make that judgment as to, we might not be able to afford the next EpiPen. Can we get around this without using it? Right. I heard a story of somebody that they survived, but there was exactly that kind of condition that they didn't have access, to their EpiPen. And it's probably happening every day in this country if it's $600, dozens of times probably. That's just criminal. So they're putting some soft kind of negative pressure. That story's getting out there.
Oh, yes. So Neera Tanden made a critical comment about Joe Manchin's daughter. Didn't reference her as Joe Manchin's daughter, but just retweeted someone who'd posted a screenshot of an article pointing out that her salary had gone up by so much. And Neera Tanden said, I think it's unfortunate that people keep buying into this idea that it's just the CEOs who are responsible for growth and profits and not the workers. So she didn't even really call out the incredible injustice of the EpiPen price increase, but she still drew attention to it. So now it's becoming a story again because Joe Manchin is opposing this Democratic nomination that his party leader, that Joe Biden, put forward for Neera Tanden to head the Office of Management and Budget, the OMB. So in a way that kind of tweaks Joe Manchin a bit to go, if you keep doing things like that, if you keep putting a spoke in the wheel of Democratic nominations, we're going to keep uncovering these stories and keep bringing on this negative attention to your daughter and her $19 million salary for increasing the price of EpiPens to $600. And that's, he's probably not going to like that. So I don't know how it works on him, if that's just going to annoy him or if it's going to motivate him to reconsider some of his more obstructive Democrat in name only type moves.
Don't you love American politics, everybody? Like, wow. And you know what we're also going to learn, I think, on this program is we're going to learn about politics in other places too. I think Americans, need to understand, let me just bring up Thailand or something. How does it work? Why is America always installed when we install a government, and we have, if it's supposed to be democracy, why is it never a democratic republic, but it's always a prime minister type route generally? And would that have been the better route for us? So we'll touch on stuff like that. I'm sure. I want to go into the comments for a second. I'm going to start actually from the most recent, and crawl backwards. August, thank you for the award, man. That is awesome.
Is that
if I
Phil?
get stung, it's Phil. Yeah, it's Phil. Or PK Bublets, if you want. He's several people in one. If I get stung by a bee, I'm a dead man. Yes, Harry is saying he needs EpiPen. Birdman is here. Caw. It's so awesome how many cross connections you and I have with people. I love this. It's fantastic. We have that would be terrifying for anyone needing an EpiPen. I have the need for an EpiPen, and I have to pass on it due to the unreal cost of it. Jesus. That sucks, Harry. That sucks. This is where it is. An EpiPen probably costs, and I'm an anti-capitalist, you know what I mean? Like, just so, fuck capitalism. But it is the field that we play in. And I bet an EpiPen probably costs about 15 to 75 cents to produce. They've been making it a long time. There's the cost of making that EpiPen, of coming up with it, has long been paid. They're running purely on profit right now. They don't have to advertise the damn thing. It probably costs them nothing, and they're making a bundle, and that's just wrong. It's just wrong. So, yeah, I'm going to scroll through here. Go ahead and comment. I'm going to look for some stuff.
I was going to say, well, that's the angle where we can do the point counterpoint. You can be the more heavy duty anti-capitalist, and I'll be the more conditional. I like regulated capitalism, and I want things to work. So that's where we've got our dialectical tension.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Because, perfect. Good. This just gets better and better. And the stock market is not an indicator of the actual economy. Correct. Joy gets the prize for that one. The first but not the last. Yeah, that's a problem if I wait on these comments. I sometimes get time together. There's so much work to do, and Biden's approach is focused and forceful. He will accomplish his goals despite Republicans' blockage. I like that, Sheldon. We need a few more Republicans to come around Romney. All right, so my gosh, we're going to be able to get so far into the weeds and stuff. This is going to be this is amazing. So we need a few more Republicans to come around. Romney's won. So what do you think, Dev, it's going to take for the Republicans to dispose of Trump?
I think they're going to keep running with it. There's so much impetus because his supporters are so very enmeshed in a cult. And it's very much always a tool of fascism to deride the media so much that people who are attracted to the cult leader begin to be completely cut off from valid sources of news. So I heard that with Fox audience numbers, there were high numbers on the days that Republicans were participating in the hearings of the impeachment, that the pro-Trump case was being made, the defense. And then when they showed the House management case of why Trump was guilty of incitement of insurrection and violence, the viewership numbers on Fox fell right down. So that's not, I often blame Fox for the poisoning of a large subset of the American population's minds. But this was the interplay on their part. Their audience was turning off to avoid hearing about Trump's culpability. Hitler used to say Jugendpresse, meaning the lying press. Trump said fake news. They both had their angles to detach themselves from accountability and to promote this cult bubble of self-perpetuating disinformation. And Republicans understand that that's powerful. So even though it's fragmenting their party, they're still making that gamble that the more substantial fragment is the pro-Trump fragment. And the Liz Cheney, Adam Kinzinger, more honest Republican component, Romney, etc., the people that voted to impeach Trump because he was clearly guilty, that they are more of an impotent segment of the Republican Party. But at least they're fracturing. So I'll finish a sentence that I meant to finish before, where I said, oh, Republicans are so obstructive, nothing can get done. And I meant to say, unless people persevere and unless Democrats muster the political will to defeat the filibuster, which I think they can do. I'm hearing a lot of pundits who used to be against the filibuster, conservative pundits, who are now saying, clearly, Republicans are proving it every day that the filibuster has to be defeated in order to get anything done for the United States.
So the filibuster, for me, needs to go. No question about it. But of course, that's predicated on it better damn well keep the Democrats in office for quite a while, because we got a lot to fix. And even a 4-year term isn't a lot of time. We've got the 2020, what are these going to be? The 2022 primary? Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah, 2022 midterms.
Yeah, 2022 midterms. So, I mean, that's already on us, right? I mean, it just, stuff's going to creep on us really fast. And so we got to make sure we maintain control of the House and maybe grab control of the Senate. I know I haven't looked at who's up this time, so I don't know exactly. I don't know if if you've looked at that yet, but we should definitely look at that and see what we start to think that the odds are of grabbing complete control of the Senate. But
that would be good.
It'd be awesome. Well,
I've seen graphs, but I haven't memorized it.
Yeah. That would be good to look at, because I think that it's just you and I and an audience of some people, but I think people need to be talking about this thing around fascism and how close we came, and how the issue hasn't gone away. So, and in fact, we all know what happened with Hitler, right? He got slapped on the wrist, and 10 years later, he
was back and badder than ever. Yes,
he was, and history does tend to like to F with us. So the filibuster, but it scares me because, if the Republicans can grab power, they can do a lot of damage with that. But we've got too many things. We can't risk it. We have to do something with the Supreme Court. And I personally think we should just impeach all of the Republican justices instead of expanding the court. And, anybody that Trump put in there, just impeach them and get rid of them and fill those slots versus packing the court. But again, we have no choice. We have to undo that Supreme Court. It's just in an untenable position. I mean, so what do you think?
President Biden has started a working committee to look into adding to the Supreme Court, which will be great.
Great.
And that reminds me, I think Sheldon raised earlier, or someone did in the comments section, that we need to fix the Senate. We need DC statehood and Puerto Rico statehood, and that will fix it. It will.
So we got to get rid of the filibuster to get DC and Puerto Rican statehood, right?
Yeah.
So, but we got to get the Puerto Ricans to do it too, because it's always about 50-50, I think. With it's always the group that doesn't want to become American citizens is winning these things every time, right?
Well, circumstances might have changed for them now that Trump's gone, and they might realize that and Republicans are obstructive to fair amounts of federal aid being sent to help them when there are natural disasters. And we've got climate change, so there's more weather disasters on the horizon for everyone.
Right. And I know nobody's going to agree with my position, but as long as they get more people on there, that's totally fine. So Puerto Rican, so people kind of understand, what's going on here. When we kind of get the inside baseball thing going here. So what's going to happen is you're going to bring in 4 senators from primarily Democratic. DC is all Democrats. I mean, like Republicans, they don't even stop at stoplights. They just drive right through. And DC is filled with Democrats. And in Puerto Rico's close enough you get at least 3 senators out of the deal. And that's absolute control of the Senate at that point. So have you heard anything on the radar about, you just said there's a committee being formed for the
Yeah.
Supreme Court. Have you heard anything about DC statehood and the filibuster and, what's the chatter?
I just hear chatter of people saying that the impeachment trial for Trump really highlighted the need for DC statehood because they couldn't control their own National Guard, their own state National Guard, and there were just lots of things that couldn't be done to prepare against the insurrectionists because they didn't have that level of authority over their own state. And there wasn't the infrastructure they were dependent on the pleasure of the president. And when you have a bad faith actor president such as Trump, clearly he was prepared to allow those in DC to be in considerable danger. So a lot of the discussion on, look how so many police officers were injured. Look at the number of police officers who died either directly or from suicide just because of the distressing nature of that day's events. Look at how much danger legislators were in. That all enhances the debate. It enhances the motivation for people insisting on DC statehood. So I'm taking that as a plus in the plus column. And what else? We had a little trolley person who...
Yes, this is great. I am so excited because on Happs, we don't get too many trolls, but guess what? They're coming from Twitter. So because you can win elections, you want to cheat. I'm guessing Davina will answer differently than I am, and I'm going to remain very calm for Overland XYZ, because a couple of weeks ago, you would have heard a different person, but you know what I mean? Fates have changed. So, yeah, fuck you. People were trying to overthrow the United States of America. Everybody voted for Donald Trump is a traitor and should be deported to the country that most represents the majority of their genetic heritage. Get the fuck out of my country, all right? And I want reconciliation, all right? But you do not come into my room and tell me because you can win elections, you want to cheat. We're not cheating, all right? We're using the levers of power to set this country right. Davina might be like, am I really going to do his show? But right now, but yeah, seriously, don't bring that into my room because you know what? I'm for good debate. I'll debate with anybody, but you don't start from that position. You don't start from that position. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dev.
Do we have moderators who get to mute those?
Yeah, the problem with that is they're coming. The problem with that is they're coming from Twitter, so I probably have to do it. But I think we can mute them at least.
Yeah, look, don't do it because sometimes I do get distracted, but sometimes I use the trolls to riff on a tiny little tangent of pro-social justice. Yeah. So somebody brings up, go ahead, when we get back in abortion will be history. I'll just use that opportunity to humanize the issue of reproductive rights for women very briefly and say that in countries where abortion is illegal, the highest, the thing of death that's highest for women under 19 years of age is childbirth, because women don't have any access to abortion, and it tends to also bleed over into reducing access to contraception as well. And there was this beautiful woman in Ireland called Dr. Savita Halapanova. She was 31. She was pregnant. Her pregnancy was failing. Her fetus had become septic. She went to hospital and asked repeatedly for them to terminate her pregnancy because they told her, your baby's not going to live, but there's still a fetal heartbeat. We can still detect a heartbeat. So at this particular point in time, our hands are tied. We can't do anything for you, just because even though we know it's you're not going to be able to carry this baby to term, you're not going to have a baby at the end, we still have to leave your life in jeopardy for the moment because this is a Catholic country and abortion is completely off, out of our hands. So we can't terminate your pregnancy unless we're more convinced that you will die. So she did die. And they're like, whoops. Well, that surprised us, but it shouldn't have. They didn't take into consideration enough that her life was at risk because they had put the life of the fetus on such a high pedestal, and women's lives can be lost. So I just like to take that moment to humanize it and say women, Irish expat women, flew back to Ireland from all over the world to be able to vote in a referendum that legalized abortion in Ireland. And they drew murals of this beautiful Irish Indian woman, gorgeous face, because she was never able to have any future children. She wasn't able to hold her life because of that legal imperative imposed on doctors to not even consider abortion as a medical technique to save the life of a woman, unless they were, 100% convinced she was at death's door. So they put her life at risk, and she died as a consequence of that mulish commitment to oppressing women that a lot of men do still get very excited about, and a lot of conservative women still buy into as well, because transactionally they're like, if we accept oppression, then we get what we think we want. They think that family stability is tied to accepting patriarchal dominance. So I'm trying to unhitch that conflation for them and say, you can still have loving families and stable families and enduring relationships, even without having to say, my husband rules over me and God rules over government and government legislates what can happen in my uterus.
Yeah, and I think there's a Supreme Court justice that husband technically makes the decisions for her, if I understand how the relationship works. She's the lawyer, but technically he could tell her, no, you vote another way, and she'd have to do it if she's true to her faith, I think.
True, but I think a lot of Christians aren't true to the stipulations.
I know that.
So,
And that was beautiful and eloquent. I was brutal and mean, but you just the people don't get it. This is treason, folks. It's sedition. It's trying to overthrow the government of the United States. You do not come into my room. I'm sorry. This is all about. We'll get to the reconciliation. We'll get to the truth and the reconciliation at some point. But I mean, it's got to get through people's heads that we're not going to go back to those. We're not going to debate on those terms. You're going to have to come over to to the sane side a little bit. So you know what? That's about the only thing I'll get angry on is when you come in here and you spout support for the one of the worst human beings in the history of humanity is alive right now. Okay, he's not Pol Pot, he's not Hitler, he's not Stalin, but you know what? He's very bad, and
he's been very instrumental in the death of a lot of people and the suffering of a lot of people.
Probably 450,000 people at a minimum.
Yeah,
and the world court, so yeah.
Oh no, the world court he should be tried at the Hague,
He should be tried at the Hague. For the Hague, is that how it's said? I love that.
No, the Hague.
The Hague. Okay, no, but always correct me when we do this. In pro-forced, trolls want to upset you. No, I know, Rose. And what I generally do with trolls is I just don't talk to them and they go away. I don't want people to mute trolls. And apologies to anybody that might have been offended by my forcefulness there, but I want people to understand the impact of this is that they tried again. I'm going to say it again. They tried to overthrow the government of the United States of America. I am a pacifist until you punch me in the face. So, what they did in different times would be punishable by death. Okay? They tried to overthrow the government of the United States. They're not even going to get a hand slap. Somebody said earlier that Trump isn't going to jail. And I know we're jumping all over here and we'll be more structured when we do this, because you'll keep me in check. What do you think? Is he going to go to jail or not?
Oh, what do I think?
Yes,
good
ma'am.
Question. There's a lot of things that he's going to be facing prosecution for. So many things. So one former district attorney was pointing out today that even though we are so excited that his tax returns are finally in the hands of a prosecutor, they're in the hands of Cy Vance, the Manhattan district attorney. But tax prosecutions are normally very labor intensive and can take years to progress. So there was that. It's not going to be any immediate off to prison for you, Trump, because you have to demonstrate intent. And because Trump was the head of an organization, there's a lot of people who work for him, meaning it's hard to get those precious emails saying, please overinflate my assets to banks so I can get bigger loans.
And he doesn't do it that way.
Underinflate. Yeah. Yeah,
he knows how to do it. It's like the mob style. Yeah, exactly. Mob style. Yep.
Yeah. I just like it if the banks could see all of the hard times I've been through, not the banks, the IRS. If the IRS could see all of the hard times I've been through lately, that would be great. Can you go sort that out, please? And, I need this loan from the bank. So definitely make sure they know about all of these great things and how fantastic I am. And yes, I interviewed the journalist who, when he was a young 22-year-old whippersnapper of a real estate journalist, he was instrumental in putting Trump on the Forbes 400 list because Trump had called him pretending to be his own vice president of finance, John Barron.
John Barron.
Yeah, John Barron. And Jonathan had the tapes of that actual conversation. And it took until 2016 for him to realize that that was Trump. When the news became more in circulation that Trump had a habit of pretending to be other people and calling journalists and boasting about his sexual exploits or his company's profit margins, etc., using fake personas. And he went, I think maybe I still have those tapes of that interview, went back and listened to it and was like, how did I not realize that this was Trump all along? But he did it. He thought he was being all tough and pushing back a bit and going, are you sure about this asset? But he did put Trump on the Forbes 400 list, and Trump's then used that to leverage scrutiny from banks. So when banks say, okay, show us the documentation of your assets, he's like, you don't need to see that. Just look at the fact I'm on the Forbes 400 list. Clearly, I'm massively in the black. You don't need to see the documents. So he leveraged his ability to hoodwink one journalist into an ability to hoodwink banks and get all of these bank millions and millions of dollars to play with, because he's a player. He's a gambler who's good at marketing himself as successful, but in real terms is very successful at burning through other people's money with gay abandon.
I can't give that a hallelujah because of the content, but hallelujah for the presentation. They're so here's
you can give it a hallelujah for truth.
Yes, hallelujah. And so I was very upset when he wasn't hauled and frog marched on day one, or day two or day three or however many days it is. But I think at the point of sedition, it has to be Merrick Garland. Before the sedition, I would have wanted it to be the state. That's fine. Somebody put him in jail. But I want to talk a little bit about that, and then a little bit about something that I find very interesting is, what do you do with Trump? You can't put him in Gen Pop. I don't even think you can. I think you have to build like a Hannibal Lecter facility for him, or you put him in house arrest somewhere. I don't know how you imprison a former president of the United States. I mean, he's a scumbag. But, I was worried about setting precedent before, but you've got to treat him with dignity, because they will arrest a Democrat at some point and do the same thing. So, you got to kind of set the terms for it. And I've really wondered, how can we even imprison him? He can't go to a regular prison. He can't go to a state prison. He's got to go to an island or something, where he's got a golf course and he's never allowed to leave. He's never allowed any inbound or outbound messages. There's no visitors. Anyway.
We have a little bit of a preview of Trump being in prison in that he's off Twitter. That's
Very
like a
true.
shackle on Trump's ability to trump himself into the public discourse. So it kind of feels a little bit like he's in prison, but it won't today, because today is the day he speaks at CPAC. How do you say it? The conservative crap. I
Yeah,
always
I
want to call
heard.
it crap when I see those letters.
I
But
think,
yeah, so he gets
I
to
think they're in
speak.
trouble. I think
Yeah.
CPAC's in trouble. Yeah, there's something going on with him. Yeah, I'm not. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I mean, just in terms of money and stuff, and COVID and stuff like that. Garland is an amazing choice for Attorney General. He sure is. They forced Carter to sell his peanut farm, for gosh sakes, right, Charlie? Um, and you remember Billy Beer, Charlie? Do you remember that? Well, can't act against him as president. You can't, and you can't after. Where's the justice? See, that's the thing, Charles. There will never be justice um, for these atrocities. I mean, we're just going to have to live with that. Though, even if it was the ultimate justice, it's not going to happen. 450,000 Americans have died needlessly. I want the man in jail for the rest of his life, but at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter to me because um, it's a disgrace. We have 75 million Americans that find no problem with it, um, and we have a truly serious crisis in this country that we are still within moments away of. We were within moments away of becoming a fascist state, full bore,
Yeah.
with a guy like Stephen Miller pulling the strings. An
That's a
absolutely
good term, full
horrible human
blown.
being.
Full blown, because I was already describing it as having lots of elements of a fascist state. The fact that
Right.
the state was working to separate children from parents, to weaponize people's cruelty, the disdain towards migrants that arises out of this. It's a bit libertarian. It's a bit heavy duty radical environmentalist, and I'm an environmentalist in that we can't live without a functioning planet
An environment.
where there's with an environment and a livable atmosphere. We can't just say, oh, temperatures fluctuated in the past. Human habitation or human existence has existed within a narrow temperature range that we need for agriculture to flourish, for people to be able to eat, and have weather conditions that allow us to have structures that stay up and don't get blown away by hurricanes or flooded, etc. Like we need to contain temperature increase, and we need to sustain biodiversity so we still have functional food webs. But radical environmentalism that perceives the cure for environmental problems to be sabotaging the population, to either not just halt population growth, but these are people who actively long for mass death. And those kind of people were in government under Trump, and they got to pursue pandemicide. And that's a term
100%.
that's getting some currency at the moment. I'm going to tell our listeners that there's this article in Foreign Policy. So if you Google Foreign Policy, and the author is Laurie Garrett, Garrett, A lot of people are sharing it on Twitter. Check it out. You can see some of it without subscribing, and it just blasts Trump and the Trump administration.
So I would like to put a call out there to anybody watching the replay or anybody in the audience right now. I think that's a nice, respectful name to use, audience. Anybody that's out there, would be great if during the course of the show we could have one or two people that that will tweet out, bits here. I'm not a fast typer. Eleanor probably could help on this too, but tweet out some of this stuff because my goal in being so privileged to have Davina here is to inform as many people as we possibly can. I'm getting schooled right now, so to inform as many people as we possibly can of what's going on, because this is a full-blown crisis. It's not over, and we need to spread this message, far and wide. So pandemicide. Thank you, DavCat. Tell us a little bit about what that might mean if people don't quite get what that's about.
Well, it's a descriptive term to refer to those who, through negligence or active sabotage of public policy, create conditions leading to mass death and mass infection. So in that article, Laurie Garrett, she's an author who's been following disease outbreaks for a number of decades. So she published a book about Ebola and how it was managed. She's a high-profile researcher in relation to disease. And she said, okay, look, I'm not going to condemn Trump for the fumbles in the initial months in January or even February. She's not going to fault Trump for the missteps with failing to use the Defense Production Act to ramp up the production of masks or gowns or ventilators. She reserves her ire for what Trump did in the lead up to the election, which was focus all of his energy on deceiving the public about the pandemic so that they could focus on his re-election, to maximize his chances of defeating Joe Biden by lying to people about the extent of the pandemic and the strategies needed to overcome it. So he held mass super spreader events and he promoted non-compliance with public safety measures such as mask wearing. And that really did cause so many deaths. So I'm broader than her. When I denounce Trump for pandemicide, I'm going to condemn him for his actions in January and February. And I often pointed out to people this obscure economic development, which is that there was a manufacturing recession recorded at the end of 2019, that there were two consecutive sectors or two consecutive quarters of economic contraction in that industry. There was less manufactured goods. It was a byproduct of Trump's tariff wars. So because Trump always pretended, it was a very big lie. He always pretended that the people who paid tariffs were Chinese businesses. And China was paying his tariffs. So they were giving him money to spend on the American people. But in reality, American business owners who imported goods from China and sell them cheaply at Walmart, etc., they were paying these tariffs. So it was depressing manufacture in America of people who import component parts from China and manufacture goods here. Anyway, he wanted to hide that.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Trump wanted, back to Trump and his culpability here, he wanted to hide the manufacturing recession because his voters in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan are disproportionately employed in the manufacturing industry. And it was starting to bleed over into adjacent industries as well, transport and storage, because you transport manufactured goods and you store them, etc. So he was trying to kiss up to China in January of 2020 so that they would sign on to a new trade agreement so that he would have, some squirrel to wave at the press and say, look at me, I'm so fabulous. Forget about this manufacturing recession people might be talking about. Look, I got a trade deal. I'm the best. And that would carry on to preserving his electoral college margins in 2020. And because he so badly needed to kiss up to the Chinese government, he purposefully minimized COVID. And he kept tweeting about how great President Xi was and how great their management of COVID was. And he kept underplaying this crisis. Joe Biden wrote an op-ed in USA Today saying, on the 26th of January, it was published, saying, I would do more. More needs to be done to hold the Chinese government to account, to find out what they're doing, what it's like on the ground there, so we can respond proportionately to this unfolding crisis. So Biden knew in January, you can hold Trump accountable for what he did. And what he did was lie and lie and lie and lie. And we even have it on tape in that he was telling Bob Woodward on the 7th of February, I can't understand how this doesn't get more traction, but on the 7th of February, he was saying it's airborne, it's spread in the air. It affects young people as well, even though you can get more worried about older people. Young people die too. It's terrible, he said. He knew, and he withheld that information, not just from the public, but from governors. So all this negative attention on Cuomo, sounds like Cuomo deserves some of it, but the reason why Cuomo was flying dark in relation to COVID management was because Trump knew all of this stuff about it. He was the one getting the briefings from the intelligence agencies that cost American taxpayers billions of dollars to run. So all of these taxes you guys pay to have a functional government, Trump took that functionality and put it in the toilet and closed the lid. He denied all of you the products that you deserve for your taxes. And the consequence of that was mass death.
Sorry. Like, seriously, people, tell everybody you freaking know to watch this thing on Thursday nights. 10 p.m. Eastern would be what time if you are in your part of the world is going to be, because that part of the world should watch it too. It's 5. Oh, I know. I want to know what the GMT time is on that too. Would you guys wait? 10 p.m. is 5 a.m. GMT. You know, if you're in Great Britain, if you're in other parts of the world, seriously, share this with your friends. I know I have a lot of UK followers, and I want to go to Christopher Lucas. Christopher, if you go to @RevMac Live, I put it in the chat there. There's an invitation for you to come to Happs and sign up. And then when you look, you'll see like a main feed, like a hallway, a room there with different broadcasters. Look for my show. Come up and talk to us, man. I like what you're saying. I'd really like to see you up here and we could start to chat. Boston. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's one that we're going to talk about here, and you know, I'm not going to just yell at this person, but this is not a bit of a troll, but so we can put this in context. Can you see what Boston Tea Patriots said? Can you unhide their comment?
I can't see them.
Okay, hang on a second. So, because what I want to do is I want to. Okay, do you want to comment on that, or you just want to let it go?
No, I will not let it go.
Okay, good. I didn't think you would, but you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So there we go. That's a great system. Yeah, go ahead, Dev. Oh, wait, let me unhide it.
Yeah,
let me unhide it.
It's a very abusive use of quotation marks. So I'm going to start with that because it's Rupert Murdoch's speciality. He owns Fox News, as you'll probably know. He also owns 70% of the print media in Australia, which is ruining Australia right now and ruining Australian politics. But all of his publications use quotation marks. So I'll give an example. Woman alleges rape. And they'll use the word allege, which is appropriate to do before someone's been convicted of a crime. But he double antagonizes the woman by putting in quotation marks as well to just extra reinforce this undermining tactic. So Boston Tea has put quotation marks around this woman's title. So he's gone Dr. quotation marks Rachel Levine. She's transgender. She was being questioned by Senator Rand Paul. See, two can play at that game, but I'm just highlighting.
Wait a minute. Those are for the podcast that's surely going to come from this. She's using air quotes. So. Yeah. Sorry, Deb. Go ahead.
Senator Rand Paul abusively questioned a transgender woman, Dr. Rachel Levine, saying, "Oh, so what's your opinion on the genital mutilation of children?" Because gender reassignment surgery isn't conducted on children, but the right is trying to muddy the waters in relation to the fact that sometimes transgender children are allowed to avail themselves of hormone blockers so that if they feel like they're a boy and they don't want to go through puberty and develop breasts, they can take hormone blockers and that will stop breast development and it will stop hips widening, etc. And it's apparently a godsend, according to transgender people who avail themselves of this, and makes a big difference to the lives of transgender children. And the position that Boston Tea Party probably takes is that when we say, look, there's very high suicide rates for transgender people because of their mistreatment and rejection at a societal level, Boston Tea Party is probably with those people who say, yeah, well, it's your fault. They're killing themselves because you let them modify their gender presentation to the world. And the answer to that is, no, you're full of it. And you're clinging in a who moved my cheese style to an outdated model of gender roles. You're so committed to preserving men are men, women are women, women wash the dishes, men, what do men do? Things men
Not
do.
much.
Oh yeah,
Not
men
much.
get to be conscripted to war and go and die on the battlefield. And so you shouldn't have women in the military, and you shouldn't have women outside the home. And there's all various permutations of that. Like you might find someone who agrees that women should be allowed to have jobs, just that they shouldn't be allowed to wear pants, or no, women can wear pants and have jobs, but women shouldn't be allowed to choose not to have a baby if they accidentally fall pregnant. Like there's all different places along the continuum. But I've met Boston Tea Party before, and they prayed for me, and I lost my cool. They said I've not only did they pray for me, but after they saw how annoyed it made me, they then came back the next day and said, I've asked my friends to pray for you as well. You can't even say Jesus' name, can you? Because I used the modern terminology of BCE, which means before Common Era, instead of just using BC, which means before Christ. And I only learned that because I read a history book recently, and it's the new thing. I can cope with change. Highly conservative people apparently have overdeveloped amygdalas, which means they're more fearful
And they do.
and concerned about change. Or at least they're statistically speaking more likely to have highly developed amygdalas.
Right. And you know, I talk about that a lot too. Amazing. The amygdala, surely you know, there's got to be this, you talked about it, this fear. What do conservatives do? They have like on average like 3 to 5 guns a person or something. I don't know, it's some crazy number. And they're afraid of their own shadow. Owning 5 guns is not bravery. It's fear. It's being scared. It's being scared of your own shadow. It's being scared of the black person who comes to your door in distress and shooting at him with a shotgun. You know, I mean, look, let's lay this out. Stereotyping is a bad thing. It comes from an evolutionary place, right? You know what you do? You stereotype a chair. You know why you stereotype a chair? So you can sit down. Because if you have to think about how to sit down, that would suck. All right? Yeah. You stereotype chairs. You stereotype flat surfaces. We have a reason to stereotype, but we are better than we were 200,000 years ago or 25 years ago. And we can say, I have this implicit bias that makes me fearful of people that aren't like me. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go around that. And I'm going to embrace that person who's different than, and I'm going to get to know them, right? That is what we're talking about here, okay? You can rise above these evolutionary forces that got us where we are, or you can keep dragging your knuckles. So, yes. Preaching
I
again.
love it. I love it. No, this is what we're here to do. It is a little bit preaching. It's a little bit preaching to the choir, but that's how you sustain a community of common thinkers. And we use analogy to highlight the points, just as Jesus, bless his little old heart, used fables to build consensus as well, because Jesus was a politician who was trying to build solidarity amongst the Jewish community to more effectively resist Roman occupation. Just as we've been trying for 4 years to build community spirit to resist Republican occupation, and that hasn't been eliminated, even though we won and Biden's president, there's still this minoritarian authoritarianism that is still gumming up the works of American politics, so that things that could be done to help people, like the $15 minimum wage, are still getting delayed and prevaricated against. But when you said that about chairs, I was very inspired, Rev, to bring up something about language development in children, because I'm a speech pathologist by training, and children overgeneralize when they're learning language. So you introduce a cat to a baby and say, cat, cat, here's a cat. They'll see another furry four-legged animal and they'll say, cat, cat. They're overgeneralizing. It's a function of the steps they're taking on their passage to learning language. So as you said, we can choose not to drag our knuckles anymore, and they can choose to stay at the state of overgeneralizing and saying, woman must be a woman. Nope, actually, we can say man about someone who has elected to make a different gender presentation to the world, because it certainly isn't science that there's only two genders. There's a multiplicity of chromosomal variations, and there's a multiplicity of hormonal conditions as well that give people cause to want to change how they present to the world. So it's more inclusive, it's more functional. Yeah, hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
And
I love it. I love it.
and I
Boston
can see
knows
that
you, right? Boston knows you.
Yeah,
You guys have gotten in debates before. Yeah.
he's an unfailing visitor to my broadcast. He loves me, but he also just loves to exercise his ability to troll.
Yes, and I want to say that Boston, the sap. I appreciate that you're not using more, language like I do, salty language. I appreciate that. You know what I mean? And yeah, just don't troll so much. I think you're actually probably pretty smart. And anytime you want to come up here for a legit debate, and you're going to show your face on camera, come on up. We'll debate you, but you got to play by the rules.
He's not smart enough to use the contraction form of "you are" yet, and I've literally given him so many tutorials. Oh my
God! I just noticed that. Wow, that's a serious burn right there.
People make that mistake all the time, and it's fine. But I've specifically instructed him on how to do it, and when to do it so many times that his perseveration with the error to me indicates low adaptability, and low capacity to change and grow.
I saw your face when I said he could come up. You were like, no, don't let him come up.
He's awful. He's an awful person.
So listen, Dev, yeah. Wow. I have to go to bed. Like,
yes,
it is the last thing I want to do, but I got to go to bed. So
I'll be here again. So you go to bed. Let's
I know you will.
All our listeners to the haven of sleep. They deserve it.
Yes,
it's very important for health.
Let everybody go, and let's talk this week and keep this out. But I liked the kind of the development of the show being out here in public. So if you got any ideas, just DM me, or you have open DMs, Dad, or no?
I think I have to follow you, or you have to follow me. Something.
Yeah, but just DM me if you have any questions, and I'll get them to Davina too, because let's just keep it that way. And we're going to set up. I think maybe possibly I've got some space on a server somewhere. So if anybody's got, I just don't have time, and there's no budget for this, but this is worth it. If anybody's got some time to consult with us and set up a bit of a website, I think we need to set up a website if you would agree, Davina. And
I agree.
And we're going to make this thing rock. And so anybody that wants to volunteer, and I promise you, if you volunteer and we start to get some traction, and we start to get some folks that are sponsoring us, I'll pay you back. So I'll take care of you. And yeah, so we need to get a website. We need a name, I think, for what we're doing. It could be simple, but be thinking about that, folks. I know one of the nice things about this platform, Davina, is that people watch the replays. Like I'm like, and I could, it's still just click, it's just views. I mean, I get people that, that I love on here, and they're like, I'll have a 3-hour show. They're like, God, I watched the whole thing. It was great. I'm like, where did you find 3 hours to watch me? You know what I mean? Like seriously, I love you for it, but like, I wouldn't give myself 3 hours to watch myself. So it's an honor. That's true. They can just listen.
They can put us on in the background. And if we help them get their chores done, then it's an honor and a privilege to be part of their background.
It is an honor. It really is. It really is an honor. Yeah. And I'm honored and thrilled to have you here and have us here, because this is a co-venture. And I also want to say that I'm really working on eliminating, is it the right way to say, my gender biased pronouns? So I'm trying. So I want everybody to catch me on this because I went on a little bit of a preach run the other day. And I was listening back because I'm got a new microphone and I'm testing my audio, and I'm like, do you know how many times you referred to people as men or women, and how if there were a transgendered person or someone else that identifies in a different way, how that would suck for them, how that would might make them feel. So I'm really working hard to use they them and those kind of things, when possible. So
Are we
if people
supposed
want
to
to,
do that? I'm
well,
behind. I'm behind with that.
we're not, yeah, we are, we are, we are. It's time. You don't have to, and I'm just doing it for myself. I'm trying to get into the habit of it because honestly, there's just no reason to cling on to those old values. They don't do anything to you. They don't hurt you. It does not hurt you to identify someone in the because I get I get the gender and the sex. I get it mixed up sometimes. So always feel free to correct me. But like, there's just no reason for you to deny somebody who they feel they are. And I'm going to say something on here that like people could easily use against me. But I'm going to say this because this is how important this is. I have some kind of it's implicit bias against transgendered men, so men that identify as women.
Good for you for admitting it, because we're immersed in a cultural environment that encourages us to laugh at and deride people of that tendency. And that's cool that you want to learn. Me too. I also want to do work on overriding the implicit bias that I have. And implicit biases, I have more than one. And I love it because we're on a continuum.
Yeah,
it's
microaggressions, everything.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's a journey, and there's room for us to make progress.
There is. And so please, guys, always point that out for me because I have friends, I have people that I'm a freaking cis fucking white male, like you can't hurt me, like there's nothing you can say to me. Think about this. I can call everybody that's not me. There are dozens of words that I can use to degrade you. There are dozens of ways that I can do because I'm a cis white male. And there's nothing you can say to me unless you personally attack me that's going to hurt me. There is no derogatory term for me that is even going to affect me. And that's the way my brain is wired, and that's why white privilege and racism is so abhorrent. It is endemic in the white brain. I'm just pointing that out to you, that my brain has a problem with white, especially white trans men, and not being able to accept that. And my friend is a psychologist who's my probably my best friend, and we've been doing ventures together for a long time. And I asked her, I said, why is that? I don't want that. I want that out. And she said, well, think about it this way. She said, their whole lives, they have felt something was off or wrong, or maybe they knew early on that they were, a woman. And just think about how hard that would be in our society to have to go through that and find some empathy in that. Override that implicit bias with some empathy. So, yeah, there you go.
I'll give you another prong as well to consider, that you are part of an in-group that's trained to police its borders, because there's a lot of duty associated with being a man. You're supposed to provide and be strong, etc. So you're policing the borders in a way. When you resent someone who's escaped and become a woman, you're like, hey, no, you can't get out of being a man. There's there's a lot of privileges, but there's some hardship associated with it as well. You're undermining all the rest of us, sucking it up and doing our man tasks. If you escape, no escaping. So that could be an unconscious desire to police masculinity that then engenders revulsion on the part of men who see a man not having to be buttoned down and not wear the pretty makeup. Not to say you have some subconscious yearning to do makeup, but it's just a policing for things to be orderly, right, and for society to have some stability. There's always advantages to stability. This is why you should have a two-party political system. So one party is idealistic and says, let's do better for more people. Let's help more people. And the other party says, okay, let's not rock the boat too much. Or if we change everything all at once, then we might destabilize our society and make us weaker and we'll be attacked. That's clearly what happened after 9/11. The conservatives got very powerful, saying, well, clearly we did your way too much. Pendulum's got to swing back into our court, and we have to tamp down with the whole shows of strength and don't even think about attacking us. Luckily, some of that cultural change already had momentum, like gay marriage, and people can see that, hey, when you don't police the borders of marriage and you include more people and you let gay people get married and have strong families and legal recourse, be able to inherit and provide for each other, etc., you actually strengthen the institution of marriage. You're getting more stable, functional societies. People are less likely to pretend to be straight and get married to a woman in order to have children and be respectable. They can actually marry who they want, and you have less whoopsies. He's been sleeping with male prostitutes all my life because I'm a Republican politician's wife. Woe is me. I have not genetically, I have STD now from my wacky husband.
Right.
The point is that society can cope with being more flexible than it thinks sometimes, but it's never one person. It's always a critical mass of people advocating for change and demonstrating that change is safe and also making change relatable. So your homework, Rev, is a movie that Australians made, which has a cast of men dressing up as women, and they do it professionally. They're entertainers, but they have their own stories and dramas, and it's all very human and relatable in the end. And I bet it will help you. And the movie is, I've forgotten.
Wait, there's something Dav doesn't know.
Yeah, it's okay.
Note this part, right? No, yeah, you'll get it. Good, well, that's great. Why, Davina is I'm saying her name right? I'm terrible with names. Davina?
Yep.
Davina.
Yep.
Because I just recently found out that Davina's name was Davina. I just want to thank you for
Queen
that.
Of the Desert. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert.
You know what? I've seen it. And I'm going to watch it again because I saw it a long time ago. It's from the 80s or the 90s, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's a wonderful film, and I'm going to watch it again because I certainly can't watch that film too many times. And what you did and what you said and how you helped with that path, again, that's what this is about right here. Nothing more, nothing less. It's about. I'm certainly not trying to change anybody's mind. I just think we're trying to present truth, and call us on it. If we're wrong, tell us. I'm the first to admit that I'm wrong on stuff if it's necessary. So I do have to go to bed. It's 12:02. It's perfect. I don't remember when you jumped in, but I bet we've been talking for 2 hours. Thank you, Eleanor. I'm really going to have to not freaking cry. This is just so powerful at this point.
We help each other. We're here to help each other.
Yeah. This is beautiful. And I'll talk to you soon, Dav. And this is great. And support this network.
Awesome to see you here, Dav.
Yeah.
Who said that? Is that Eleanor?
That's Eleanor. Yeah, she's here. She's the... Wait, I should have asked you before you came on screen. So Eleanor does all the Eleanor does all of the technical directing and that stuff for us, so we don't have to worry about pushing the buttons so much. And let's talk tomorrow about a headset because I got to get some sleep. But reach back out to me, would you please, Eleanor? And we'll get you a decent headset.
Okay.
And love you, Dad, and like you, Rev. Thanks, Sheldon. It's okay to love me if you want to, Sheldon, but you can just like me. That's fine. And I'm so glad, Sheldon, that we made that we have this connection. Bernadette was in here for a second. And what did she say? Bernadette, where did you go? Bernadette always has a good one. Or was I just making it? Oh, there she is. I'll watch the replay. Love you both. Rev and Kat don't know how to stop talking. I love it. So do I. I love you.
I'm gonna. How do I click?
I love you, Bernadette. Oh wait, don't end yet. Hang on. I want to say good night to everybody. And you're going to go to the exit button down there at the bottom. You see, it looks like a little pink telephone or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm gonna wish everybody a great weekend. We're coming up on it. We'll be back next Thursday, but I'm hoping that Dav will make some appearances throughout the next few weeks at other times, so people will know she's around. And we're going to introduce her to everybody on Happs. This community works by collaboration more than anything, Dav, and you will see that. And thank you all for joining us. Love you, Eleanor. Love everybody out there. Peace be with you, and namaste.